Hi everyone, it's Brian Waters here from the QTube again. I wanted to share with you today an interview that I did towards the end of last year with Rob Hill from Westwood Instruments, just to talk about his company, about the ethos, the background, the history of the company, how they approach making sample instruments. As some of you will be aware, that at the time of sharing this interview, we're running our score relief competition, and Westwood Instruments have very generously donated some of their instruments as part of our $37,000 prize pool for Score Relief 2022. So if you haven't got your entries in already for Score Relief, there's still a little bit of time left for you to do that, for either for the wonderful animation or for the I Catch You spoken word piece. So without further ado, here's my chat with Rob Hill from Westwood Instruments. I started off by asking Rob to share a little bit about the background, the history of the company.
The company is kind of like here. Everything in this window is basically what Westwood is about.
And here's the QTube.
Yeah,
here's the QTube.
It is. I mean, we have similar paths in that respect. In that, like, yeah, Westwood is I would say 90% what you're looking at here, and then I have no, because that puts down all the other people that help us out. I have a small team of people that are involved with the company and help it out and helping it to grow and helping make the instruments and all those kind of things. Like my wife does a lot of the project management, so she sorts out schedules, and that is her job by trade. She's very, very good at like, right, why hasn't that been sent, or why hasn't that been done, or no, you should just push that back a week, or like stop stressing. Yeah, it's really good to have a second pair of ears to do that. And then there's a scripter involved, and he came on about a year ago really to help out. I got to my limit with scripting in terms of like time and also just ability, and I was like, there's so much in my head that I want to achieve that I'm struggling now to code. So yeah, we put the shout out for scripters and found this absolutely unbelievably talented guy in America.
Does he work for you on a sort of freelance ad hoc basis?
Yeah, it's getting to the point where it's full time now, because I'm speaking to him almost every week and those kind of things. But yeah, he is essentially a freelancer. And then there's a small beta team around the world. So there's probably got about 20 people now on the beta team.
Does that come basically from users?
I put a shout out a long time ago for beta testers, and the response was that almost like I couldn't handle it. I think there was about 2,000 emails, and I was like, right, now I've got to look through all of these and give them all the time of day and understand what each person's about. And I was looking for people from all walks of life. So I wanted amateurs that had literally a laptop and a tiny keyboard and a pair of headphones, all the way up to people, composing trailers for Marvel and those kind of things. And also like the spread of people in terms of like where they are in the world. So like geographically, and trying to get a mix of like men and women, and trying to get a mix of just all sorts. So yeah, I found my team, and they're all good. They all sort of say exactly what they think. I kind of say like, tell me the truth about this library. Is it usable? Do you like it? What don't you like about it? Tell me the worst thing. Tell me everything. So those have been absolutely essential in sort of like develop, especially this last one, because I gave them the first sort of very early beta test almost a year ago and said, here it is. It's a really, be absolute. And they all just caned me. They were just like, no, like, yeah. Well, no. They were like, okay, we like the concept. We like the idea where you're going with it. But if you're going to do it, you need to do it properly. Because at that point, it was a very skeleton sort of idea. And they were like, yeah, it's really cool, but like, go big on this one, sort of like don't take any breaks on it. So yeah, that was really good.
So give me a little snapshot of your own background. I mean, you alluded to film production. I mean, give me a...
Yeah, so like my background basically has been in film production for about 10 years. Before this, I was involved in I run a film production company. I owned one, basically filming all around the world, big clients like Adidas and banks and all those kind of things. But it was getting to the point, I just started a family at that point, and the pivotal moment for deciding I need to do something else, I was in a airport in China a week before Christmas, and my wife was 2 months away from giving birth to our second son, and I was like, this isn't like as glamorous as this is, being shipped around the world and documenting some amazing things for some massive companies. This is getting really challenging, sort of like personally. So I was like, okay, well, I need to do something else. And it was basically at that point I'd been dabbling in kind of like production of music and stuff before. I've done loads of music stuff within the film production company, so loads of sound design, composition, working with other composers and filmmakers and all those kind of things. So I've kind of had my foot in this world for a long time. And then for about a year before Westwood, I was just watching Christian Henson videos like non-stop, and I was like, okay, I'm gravitating towards this and like making sounds for other people. And I knew I wanted to switch from like that like we talked about, that client-based model where you have, you know, 3 or 4 people for the year and that's it, and you just look after those people, you know, almost like face to face, like you're taking them out for meals and you're wining and dining them.
Relationship based almost.
Yeah, exactly. To kind of like, well, I need to, I can't do that anymore. I can't physically be in the same room, you know, in a different country at the drop of a hat. Because when a client's paying you big money like that, they kind of expect you to just jump in a car or get on a plane and be in Germany in 2 days. And I'm like, I've got two small kids and a wife and a house. I can't really just do that anymore. So I was like, I need to switch to a customer facing model where I am, you know, and it's just been amazing. Like the switch has been, it's kind of like, why haven't I always done this? That's how it feels.
Well, that's a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's been, this feels right. The film production company felt right for a long time. I loved it. Like, you know, being creative every single day and just making stuff all the time. That's what I gravitate towards just all the time. Like if I haven't made something in a day, I kind of go to bed a bit restless. I'm like, even if it's just like a little email or like a Facebook post or like written something down on my phone, like I need to make stuff. That's all it comes down to. So this has been absolutely phenomenal, and the best thing has been kind of making stuff for me first, and then kind of going, oh well, I hope this will sell and I hope other people will relate to it. Before, it was, the model was, here's this thing I want you to make, now just kind of, can you put your own spin on it? And that was always really hard because they would have their ideas, and because they were paying the bill, they would be like, no, don't like it. I don't like the music you've made, or I don't like the shots you've used, or like the edit's too long or whatever. Like, scratch that and do something else. Whereas this is kind of like, right, I'm just going to spend 6 months of my life making something and hope other people gravitate towards it at the end. And luckily so far, like, yeah, I've got a very loyal and decent bunch of customers that are all sort of, you know, going, yeah, I love it. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, 100%. Like there's some absolute diamond customers out there that are just flying the flag all the time, and you know, just sending nice emails, just going, I've just used this on this album, or I've just used this on this piece, or like I've just written a whole feature length score and it came off the back of, you know, Viola Untamed or the piano or whatever. And that's like absolutely, it like makes my day when I get those emails.
Yeah, fantastic. I can well imagine. And I mean, that idea of, you do stuff for yourself initially and then hope that people like it and want it and use it and so on. That seems to be quite common also with the ethos, at least of the founding of Spitfire, if not the present day. I don't know to what extent that continues, but that's the impression I get, that they were making stuff that they were actually using.
Yeah.
And then it became a business, selling it, making it available to other people.
Yeah, I never thought like that, you know, with the Untamed series, I was never like, oh, what will sell, or what will, you know, what's missing from the market. I was just like, what's missing from my library collection? What can't I find, or what would I like to use? And that's where it came from. And luckily people have gravitated towards it. One of the first emails I got was from a composer in LA, and he was just like, just keep on making. I will, if everything's like this, I will buy everything. When's the next one? And I was like, oh, okay, that's amazing. And then he emailed me like, you know, a few months later, and he just said, oh, it's just on this score with this actor. And I'm like, that's unbelievable. And that's what I've really enjoyed, is I thought I would lose that human connection, like in a client facing business, you're doing this, you're face to face with people, and you're kind of chatting with them, and you're engaging with people and kind of like having a discussion with people all the time creatively. And now it's kind of like, spend 6 months in a hole making something without any exterior process, and then you kind of put it out to the world, but then you get that back once you've made it. And then you start having conversations with people like, oh, it'd be great if on the next one you could do this, or like, I love this idea, can you do it on this instrument, or this kind of thing. And the conversation now is happening after you've made it. In the client facing world, all the conversation happens to begin with, then you make the thing, and then that's it. You never see it again, and it's online and it's done, and that's it, finished, and you don't get to enjoy what you've made. You're kind of on to the next one. Whereas this is kind of like, make it for 6 months or a year in Lost Piano's case, and then all that kind of like crazy conversation and stuff happens once you've made it, and you're going, yeah, okay, this is really good.
I feel that Lost Piano has been the most ambitious one in some ways.
Yeah. I think I found a graph online the other day, which is kind of like, I'll have to send it to you so you can put it in, but it's this kind of like this curve of like knowledge versus skill. And at the beginning of learning something, you're like, I know everything about this is great, just dive in, and your confidence is through the roof because you don't know anything. And then you get to this dip where you're like, oh, I really don't know anything, and like, if I want to be up here, then I've got to do all this stuff to kind of like to get there. And I think with the Untamed series, we almost just went into the recording studio with not much of a plan. We just went, okay, let's just make these cool sounds and we'll figure it out afterwards. And in hindsight, it's like, okay, if we'd have done this, it would have been, even better than it is. Whereas with Lost Piano was much more from the ground up. It was like almost thinking of the end result first and kind of like working your way towards it. But I'd still say we're at the bottom of the curve still. We're at this like, oh, okay, we really don't know much about what we're doing, but like, we're on the other side of the hill.
I watched one of those little, YouTube videos that explains a kind of psychological principle recently, and it was exactly that. And there's a name for it, and I'll put it on the video. The name escapes me, and I'll put a link to the video. It's very cool, explaining exactly that, how naivety and confidence often go hand in hand.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you screw up, if you like, and then you start to get onto the real curve of competence, if you like.
It is anything like this I've done. You kind of like look back at where you started, and you're kind of going, if I knew what I knew now back then, I probably wouldn't have started. I would have gone, oh no, this is way too hard. What am I doing? I don't know enough to get this thing started. The piano book community must have sparked an awful amount of people that are now, attempting to do this or doing this or starting this or doing it. Piano book came about a year late for me. I think if Piano book had started when I started, I probably would have learned loads more a lot quicker. Because there's so much stuff on there that's amazing, and so many people making like little tutorials, and this is how you do this and this is how you do this, and it's more the approach, I think, now. Like, the technical stuff now is kind of a given. Like, how do you record samples? How you record them in the same way that you record music, but you still need an ear for like, how is this actually going to relate once it gets into contact or whatever thing you're using. But it's more like the approach of like, okay, so if we record it like this, or if we approach it like this is the result that's going to happen at the end. That's what's more interesting for me now than the technical, scripting side of stuff.
So what are the sort of guiding principles of your libraries? I mean, are you gonna define it as traditional instruments, or are you going to be experimental going forward? Like, how do you define what, or you're kind of feeling your way?
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely like the original principle was just make stuff that sounds real, like make it sound human, but don't try to emulate a violin. So when we first recorded the violin, it wasn't like, let's try and make this sound like somebody's playing the violin and you can recreate exactly what you want to do. It was more like a collaborative piece of software where it's like, oh, here's the notes that I'm giving you, here's the composition that I've written, now can you just go and make it sound good? And the software would do that. The recordings and the samples that we've recorded would kind of give you that back. And that collaborative feeling of like being given something back that you weren't expecting. like, oh, okay, that's cool. And it's a bit the same with this competition. Is like I've written the film and kind of like had an idea with some temp music about what the score should be, and all these entries are coming, and I'm going, oh wow, right, okay, I never expected like you to use that instrument or like to do that with that passage, and then kind of getting excited by the fact that other people's ideas are better than mine. And that's definitely the same with Untamed, is that, you know, there's stuff in there when you've written your composition, you plug this in, and then something comes back that you weren't necessarily expecting. So I think that's going to be going forward. Like Lost Piano is a little bit the same in that a lot of the samples just kind of, they start moving, and that, you know, you hit a C and then something else a little bit happens. But I don't think I'm ever going to go down the route of let's just try and recreate, you know, the BBC Symphony Orchestra perfectly so you can then recreate that at home. I think it will always be, let's try and do something that you necessarily couldn't do in the real world. And that was the sort of like the guiding principle behind the Storms that we've got in the Untamed series, where you're layering up from like calm velocities to sort of like more wild velocities. And you could do that in the real world, but it would be very, very difficult to kind of like pull that sort of performance off, and it would cost a fortune to suddenly get, you know, 12, 13 violinists all in the same room, all doing something a bit crazy. So yeah, that's what I think we're going to go down more, is like, what can we do with samples that can't be done in the real world? I like that idea with the Hans Zimmer libraries, that, you know, you would never get 30 cellists in a room at the same time. It would be far too expensive. It would take far too long. And that's something different, because everybody's got a amazingly well recorded symphony orchestra. You've kind of got too many to choose from now. Everybody's got like this absolutely perfectly recorded, you know, trumpet or violin. Let's try and do something that hasn't been done before.
I asked Rob for a little bit more insight into the sort of thinking and the process behind the special film clip, the lovely film clip that he created for his Lost Piano film scoring competition, and how he approached that and what some of the challenges were with that.
To have something where you've got no influence at all. You know, once the entries start coming in, you can watch those and see what other people have done with it. But it's not a TV show that you've seen before. It's not a film that you might have seen. You've already got that kind of like the memory of that music. It is, and something from start to finish. It's not just a scene. It's not just a clip. It's like you can create and craft your own world within this short time period. The original edit was like 10 minutes or something stupid.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, this is way too long. The script was the same.
Okay.
But we were hanging way too long on the edits. Self-glorification. We were like, oh, the shot's amazing. somebody could do something amazing with this in this 1 minute of silence. And then we were just like, no, it's too long.
Yeah. Cut.
Yeah. Get it down to 4 minutes.
You almost need someone else to do that, almost, don't you? Who's not really emotionally attached to the
definitely. Just get an editor that's just never seen the material before,
doesn't care,
and then just like bang.
Doesn't care how long it took you to shoot it, to light
exactly.
it,
yeah. There's a famous film director. His name escapes me now, but he's just like, always just kill your best shot. Kill your babies, I think he says. It's just like, yeah, just get rid of the stuff that you spent 8 days working on. Nobody else cares how long it took you to make it. Does it work for the story? The story is the overarching, the most important thing, and everybody should be working towards that. Nobody should be working towards what the producer wants or what the script supervisor wants. It's all just like, what does serve the story at the very top, and the director should be doing that as well. Sometimes they don't, though.
What this reminds me of is the challenge that composers face when they're contemplating creating a show reel. And I watched a recent video, I recently watched a video by Christian Henson talking about that. And one of the points that he made, which was is fundamental, I think, is that you probably need to be choosing stuff that you actually hate. because it's not really about what you love. It's about, it's not necessarily the stuff that you're proud of. It's the stuff that's going to get you noticed and that's going to stand out, and it's going to be a bit left field, in many cases. It's not a CV. Your CV is your CV. your show reel is showing your creativity, your ability to shock and surprise, if you like. And I think that's a very difficult thing to do, because if you put together a marvelous piece of orchestration, you're really going to want to show that. You've put weeks into it. You're really going to want to show it, but actually it's probably not going to do you any favors.
No.
So you want to show your piece of music with one scratchy guitar piece.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Is there anything that you think that the QTube, can do for you, like to, I don't know, help you to get your name out there a bit more? I mean, what would be good for you? What do you need?
I think from that walk, it was interesting coming away from the Edinburgh walk, and kind of like almost 80% of the people I spoke to had gone, oh, I've not heard of Westwood before. And I'm, we're here in our own little bubble going, oh, of course, the whole world knows about us. We've got all these customers and people, buying our product.
And mailing list, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got
Yeah.
We've got all these people from all over the world, and we do our Facebook marketing, and of course everybody knows about us. But I was just like, and then
bit of a wake up.
No, definitely. And then somebody said, well, that's a good thing, because there's all those potential people that haven't bought anything from you, or haven't sort of heard about your name. So I was like, I went away.
It's encouraging in a way.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
I think what I'd like from people with the contest specifically is just how could we approach it differently? Like, is the way we've gone about it good? It's been an awful lot of work to produce our own piece of work, and I wouldn't shy away from doing that again. But the amount of time people have got, or like the prizes, or the judges, or how could we have done it differently or better, or made it a better experience for people, those people that have entered, and those people that have even just downloaded it without any plans to enter it. Is there a way that we could have made the whole experience better for them?
Cool. Well, it's been really, really nice to talk to you, Rob. And take care, Rob. Really nice to speak to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you very much.
So I hope you enjoyed that. Post your comments down below. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions for Rob, of course, you can post those in the comments as well, and I'll try to get those to him and get back to you, or Rob will get back to you. If you have any questions for me, or if there's anybody that you'd like us to interview, let us know also in the comments down below. So thanks everyone for your time. We'll have more great stuff over the next few days, and for the rest of the year for that matter. Take care for now, and have a good day. Bye for now.